And welcome to the Wednesday edition of Top Story this morning. You may have been a little surprised by the heavy snow showers this morning in Sault Ste. Marie. I know I was at 5:45, but the forecast is calling for 1 to 2 centimeters of snow today before a warm front pushes through and then switches to a warmer southerly flow, but that won't happen until tomorrow. For the rest of the day, temperatures will hover around the freezing mark and the snow showers will taper off. The forecast for tomorrow, sunny and warmer with a high of 9. And speaking of sunny, Sonny Spina, I had to do it. I had to. Sonny Spina from the City Police is here to talk to us about winter driving, because I think it's on these mornings where people sort of forget. They see the first snow and they go, it's not going to stay. It's still warm. We don't have to worry about it. Winter driving's a hazard.
Yeah, I mean, isn't that wishful thinking, right? We always wish that the snow's not going to stay and that it's going to stay warm and that the roads are going to clear up. But you're right, we do have to prepare, and we often find ourselves in a position where snow comes earlier than we expected and we're not prepared. So it's great for us to be able to have these little reminders to help people in order to allow people to prepare fully for winter driving.
Now, you know, the first full solid rain or snowfall you see, you hear about collisions. We hear them all the time in the media. What are generally the reasons behind it?
Well, what we find a lot of the time, and today is no exception. Today there was a bit of a snowfall mixed with some water and sleet, and the roads got really slick really quickly. Well, there's a big difference now in time. When you're looking at getting to work and it usually takes you 5 or 10 minutes, now you're going to be looking at 15 or 20 minutes to get to work safely, because you're going to have to reduce your speed and drive safely on those roads. We often find people now rushing to get to work because they find the other traffic may have adjusted and they haven't given themselves enough time. So they get behind slower traffic and they're trying to rush through and get to work or something on time. And with the biggest secret, and I tell this to people all the time, if you're late, you're already late. You rushing isn't going to help that. You're not going to change the fact that you're late. Whether you're 2 minutes late or whether you're 6 minutes late, you're still late. So if you're going to be late, at least arrive safely and don't get in a collision. And
you know, it's important too, I think, to remember to prepare the vehicle before you go out, because I think these first couple of snowfalls every year surprise us, like you said.
Yeah.
And then you get out there and you think, oh, now I have to, blow the snow off the car and warm the car up, and we're not doing that.
Yeah, and
right?
These are all the things that take extra time.
Yeah.
So when you thought you were just going to get in your car, start it up, and drive to work, you find out that, wait, no, I have to clear the snow off, I have to scrape the windows. There's a lot of things that do take extra time. Now, everybody knows to put winter tires on their vehicles if they're going to do that. That's something that I think everybody is well aware of, but it's important for us to know that, yeah, sometimes you do need to clear those windows off, and unexpectedly, like this morning, I got up and a simple brush didn't do it. I had to actually scrape all the windows off on my vehicle before I went to work this morning, and yeah, that took an extra 5 or 6 minutes, but it's worth it when you have a clear view.
And like you said, when somebody's late 5 or 6 minutes seems like a long time, but if you're going to have a huge accident, you're going to be way more late than 5 to 6 minutes, right?
Absolutely, and a few minutes late at work is not worth putting your safety and the safety of everyone else on the roads at risk because of that. So it is a learning curve quickly when the weather hits us and we don't know about it, but it helps us know that, yeah, there are some tips that we can do to help drive safely, and one of them is checking the forecast and knowing what's coming in the coming days and weeks, so that we can prepare for these types of weather conditions.
And you mentioned slowing down, and that's an important thing. I think too that a lot of people forget, because there's inclement weather, they forget how you can slide into somebody else, because it's been several months. Yeah. And that happens quite a bit.
Absolutely. So you find that one of the things that we often find is that the cause of collisions is often someone who's driving too fast for the road conditions. You're probably traveling at the speed limit or below, but road conditions are going to help dictate your speed. If the speed limit is 50 kilometers an hour, that doesn't mean you have to travel 50 kilometers an hour. If the roads are ice covered and packed with snow and really slick and slippery, we don't expect anyone to be traveling 50 kilometers an hour. We expect you to drive appropriately to the road conditions.
Now you mentioned, snow tires. Obviously, living in Northern Ontario, we've sort of figured out that we need snow tires at this point. What are some of the other things we can do to prep our vehicle?
So some of the things we see out there on a regular basis are vehicles that really are unprepared for winter, and that's only because we enjoy the luxury of summer, and this year was no exception. We had a great summer this year, and we really enjoyed that. But when we look at vehicles, oftentimes, people let that gas gauge get almost empty, and they think I can probably make it where I got to go and I'll get gas later. And we know what happens. You forget to get gas on the way home, and you find yourself potentially stranded or rushing to get to a gas station because your gas gauge is bobbing on empty. So it's important. Try and keep those gas gauges as full as you can, those gas tanks as full as you can, and that's actually a little better for your vehicle anyway. And if you do find yourself in a situation where you're stopped for an extended period of time because traffic has just stopped, then yeah, you have enough fuel to ensure that you can be warm and safe in your vehicle. The next thing we talk about is obviously the vehicle windows. It's not enough just to wipe a small part that your eyes can look out. And I mean, I see people driving to work all the time in the mornings, and they've got a small little circle that their eyes can see out of, and the rest of it is fogged over and iced over, and that's just not acceptable. You have to have a clear view around your vehicle. You don't know where hazards may pop up on your drive, so it's important for you to have a very, very clear view, not just wiping a little bit of snow off of one side of the vehicle. Now, speaking of wiping snow off your vehicles, the next thing that you see is sometimes we have a really heavy snowfall, and people get, that 12 or 16 inches of snow on top of their car, and they think, well, I've cleaned my windows off, this stuff will blow off. As I ride to work, this stuff is going to blow off.
It's going to blow off, all right.
It definitely does. It definitely blows off onto the vehicle behind you. Creates an incredible hazard. You got to clear the top of those vehicles off. And the other thing it does, and living in Northern Ontario, I'm sure a lot of people have experienced this, as your car heats up, it starts to warm that snow on the roof of your car, and you come to a sudden stop, and it all comes crashing down onto the hood, and now you can't see, and now it's too heavy for your wipers to move off, and it creates another hazard.
And it scares you.
It's
right?
absolutely.
So by the time you recover,
and now you're not seeing anything in front of you. So we always encourage people to get that snow off of the hood of your car, off of the roof of your car, off of the hood of your car, and off of the trunks, because that stuff is blowing. You may not see it when you're driving, but it is blowing onto the vehicles behind you, and it is creating obstructions. So it's important to get that stuff off of your car as well.
Now, I know that we take road trips in the winter months. We're Northerners. We don't let some snow stop us from traveling about. What about emergency kits for in town? Are they a necessity? I mean, I always have one for the highway driving, but what about in town?
And I always encourage people to have emergency kits in their vehicles. There's things that are in there that you're going to use at times that maybe you never thought of, and it never hurts to have that. We know even in town, sometimes because of weather conditions, it may take emergency services quite a while to get there. Those emergency blankets are great. The flares are amazing to be able to draw attention to you. These things are really good things to have in your kit. Now, the important thing though is if you ever find yourself in a situation where you have to use something out of your emergency kit, that's amazing. Replenish that kit. Because you don't want to be found in a situation down the road where you say, yeah, I've got those road flares, and you reach in and say, oh, I forgot I used them 6 months ago. So if you do use something in there, make sure you replenish it.
And I would think, I don't know if this is something that you would encourage or not. Obviously, do not ever text and drive. No. Pay attention to what you're doing in July or in January. But I would think having a charged phone with you in your purse in the back seat would be something that would be advantageous in case you get stuck or you need to call somebody or there's a major accident, you can't get out of your vehicle. Yeah,
you're absolutely right. So communication is the way that we ensure that we are safe and that we know when people arrive at their destination safely. So yeah, and what you said is perfectly correct. And my wife is one of the best people I know at doing this. She takes her purse or her phone, she puts it in her purse, she zips it up and throws it in the back seat.
That's exactly what I do.
And whether she gets a text, a call, whatever it is, doesn't matter. She gets it when the ride's over. But if you do find yourself in an emergency situation, you know exactly where it is. You can go back to that phone, make a phone call, and call for help.
Now, when somebody's driving around, this happened to me one morning because I come to work pretty early in the morning, and there was a young man who was on second line, so a busy thoroughfare, in the middle of winter, was snowing lightly, but had been snowing quite a bit, had run out of gas, and asked me if I would give him a ride up to the gas station. And I just said to him, I said, you know what, I'm not comfortable doing that. So in a case like that, if you do run out of gas, you know, regardless, obviously, of what time of the year, but especially in the winter, it's cold. Some people don't want to get out and start walking. What should we do?
Yeah, and you know, we find that sometimes not just running out of gas, sometimes your vehicle just stops
Sure,
in the winter, right?
sure.
For various reasons. Well, it's important if you can to get those four-way flashing signals on immediately.
Right.
Let people know where you are. If you have that phone, make a phone call and find help. And I get it. Sometimes people pull over and say, you know, I want to help you, but I'm being cautious on my own. If you are one of those people that pull over like you did, offer whatever assistance you can. Make the phone call for them, do something for them.
Right.
If you have to, if you're just not comfortable picking them up and driving them somewhere, I completely understand that. Give us a call. Call City Police, let us know.
Okay.
Let us know there's a disabled vehicle on the road so that we can help clear that vehicle.
So even if it's just somebody who ran out of gas?
Yeah, I mean, these things sometimes can take a long time to clear. And,
Right.
and if you're coming to work really early in the morning, perhaps there's not as much traffic, but once 8 and 9 o'clock hits, that traffic's going to be a little congested in that area, and a disabled vehicle on the road can create a lot of havoc in the area. So by all means, give us a call, give us a heads up so that we know there's a disabled vehicle there and we can potentially help remove it.
Awesome. That's good to know because I didn't realize that. Just before we go to, I know it's awfully early, but there are times when our snowbanks are really, really high.
Yeah.
And you have to creep out to see the traffic. Is that, it feels very nerve-wracking to me
Yeah.
to do that. Is that the thing to do though? Do you always pull up a little bit and inch your way in and then go?
Well, and I know it kind of feels like a game of chance sometimes.
Right?
You're just
Yeah.
going a little bit at a time trying to...
Exactly, especially if there's a curve and
yeah.
the snowbank's here, you know,
Yeah,
it's...
and what I try and encourage people to do is take a look before you get in your car. Take a look and see if you notice any traffic coming. You know, sometimes people get in their car, they turn it on, they adjust the mirrors, they take a few minutes before they drive. Well, a lot of conditions can change in those few minutes. If you're about to leave, stand up, take a look over the snowbanks, see what's coming, and make sure the way is clear before you start moving out. Now, when we talk about snowbanks, if you find that they're starting to get so high that you can't see over them, it's important for you to reach out to the city and let the staff know that those banks are obscuring the views. And we have a tremendous staff here who work tirelessly throughout the winter to remove those banks. I know it feels like sometimes they're not getting there, but they're doing their best. They're working
trying to
hard.
keep up.
Yeah, they're working hard throughout the winters to keep those pathways clear for us.
Well, we thank you for working so hard this morning, coming
Thank
by.
you.
Appreciate it.
Anytime.
Always good to see you, Sonny.
Yeah, you as well.
Come
I
back
love
and see
coming
us
in.
soon.
Thank you.
We'll take this break on Top Story. We'll be right back.